Well, hello there. I'm here to fulfill my promise of uploading more, and today I bring with me a new video despite my incredibly packed schedule. I think all of you should know I have been very busy lately ever since I gained clout with the VTuber community. The game we're talking about today actually predates the first VTuber by about a year, and every night before I go to bed I say a prayer to God thanking him that VTubers did not exist in 2013. The non-stop God Guru references would have been too much for me. Today I'll be talking about Life is Strange, an episodic choose-your-own-adventure game developed by Dontnod and published by Square Enix. For quite a few years this game has been somewhat of a personal favourite of mine. Maybe the correct word would be guilty pleasure. Your guilty pleasure might be eating junk food or jerking it to TF2 fat mods. My guilty pleasure is far worse. I enjoy the Life is Strange series.
No fucking way will I watch that. My mind is twisted enough.
Just a quick disclaimer, unlike the previous video on Dishonored, this one won't be about a specific topic or theme within the game, but rather an overview of a few aspects of the game that I thought were interesting. Right, I've waffled enough, let's just get the show on the road. Life is Pain is set in the presumed golden age of 2013. This year was famous for... give me a minute. Well, it was the golden age for online entertainment. Also, the trollface. The horrors of adulthood ruined him. In Life is Strange, we jump into the skateboard poser shoes of Max Caulfield, a student of photography at Blackwell Academy located in Arcadia Bay, a fictional fishing village located in Oregon, which unfortunately is not fictional. Oregon is kind of like the Mojave Wasteland from Fallout New Vegas.
Why is everything a square?
Just a tiny bit of trivia about this video. I actually tried to find if Arcadia Bay was based off a real American town. Unfortunately, there's not really a definitive location you can point at and say, oh my god, Life is Strange is so popular, they made Arcadia Bay in real life. There are some in-game coordinates that show the location of Arcadia Bay within the world, and if you search them, fucking nothing. But in the real world, there is actually a harbour bay nearby these coordinates called Garibaldi. Someone should be reviewing these Google Maps submissions, because clearly someone's just uploaded Fallout 3 screenshots here. For Max Caulfield, life is normal. That is until, by a chance encounter, Max witnesses a woman being murdered in the school toilets. This event causes Max to develop time travel abilities, which she then uses to save the girl, who she discovers is coincidentally her childhood best friend, Chloe Price. Together they team up to uncover the mysteries of the town and reveal the dark secret that Arcadia Bay is hiding. As I said previously, Life is Cringe was developed by Dontnod, a French studio. They also developed the sequel Life is Strange 2. However, the rest of the series, Before the Storm, True Colors, and this year's Double Exposure, were actually developed by Deck 9, a company known for allegedly putting Nazi symbolism in their games. Also, this just happened right as I was writing this, so Deck 9 just made a statement on their Twitter announcing that they were going to be laying off a large portion of their staff. A lot of people are saying this is due to the disappointing sales of the newest game in the series, Life is Strange Double Exposure. The game's initial sales seem to be on the same level as the previous game, True Colors. However, the long-term sales have declined a lot faster than expected. Of course, a game's financial success has no bearing on the actual quality of the game. There's a lot of gems out there that go completely under the radar. I won't know for a while because I was going to play Life is Strange Double Exposure after doing this video. However, I've played through this game twice now for this video, and I've written 2 drafts of scripts for it. I'll be real with you, I want a fucking break from this fucking game. And I don't want to play any other Life is Strange games for quite a while. Oh, by the way, next video will be on Life is Strange Before the Storm.
Goodbye to my Santa Monica dream.
In the previous section, I talked about my feelings towards the game. And as I said, I like this game a lot. However, this game and its prequel have always been somewhat of a guilty pleasure of mine. I'm somewhat embarrassed to admit that I like these games. Physically, I am a man. The jury's still out on the mental and emotional aspects. But I have certain tastes. I like Bloodborne, Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater, Red Dead Redemption 2. This game does not fall into any of those categories. Bro, my friends and family can see me playing this shit, man. I remember a few years ago, I was playing an indie game called Spiritfarer. Essentially, it's a game where you play as the ferryman of the dead, and you have to aid lost souls on their journey by completing requests that they give you. It's a game that honestly deserves a whole fucking video by itself. But basically, when I was playing, my dad walked in, saw what I was playing, and then immediately left out of embarrassment. Another reason why I'm embarrassed is because the game has a small issue, that being that the dialogue at times is fucking horrendous.
Ready for the mosh pit, Shaka Bra.
That was an epic win. Now, let's talk business.
I think this is the one thing that every video talking about this game has brought up. The biggest sin when it comes to writing dialogue is when dialogue is delivered in a way that no fucking real person would ever communicate. This was an issue with the artistic masterpiece known as Forspoken.
That was close. That judge might have just saved my ass. Won't get that lucky again.
Why did you say any of that?
Of course, Forspoken has more issues than just being poorly written. In general, it's just an absolute disgrace of a game. To be fair with Life is Pain, the cringe is the minority of the dialogue, and it appears less frequently the further you get into the game, as the story and tone become more serious. However, one thing that never goes away are the many references to early 2010s internet humor. The troll face, the why you know meme. I don't know if any of you remember that. I wish I didn't. I like how I call them references, but this is just what internet humor was back then, repeating the same memes over and over again until it stops being funny. Now, you might be thinking, isn't that what we do now? And my answer is no, because our memes aren't fucking funny to begin with. Sometimes I think this game is written by a person who's been told what the internet is, but has never actually used it themselves. There's this one section at the beginning of the second episode where the high school bullies share a video of another student making out with a bunch of people at a party. Yeah, it's a pretty shitty thing to do, Lace, but where are you going with this? Well, the way they share the video is unusual. They share the video by writing down the video URL on a bathroom mirror. Now listen, I understand that this game is attempting to recapture a certain point in internet history, 2 years before it released, that is. But no one in the history of the universe has ever shared media like this. This is the most ineffective way of sharing a video I think I've ever seen. In future, don't be a pussy, send it via school email like we did. I feel like I have to say this just to spare myself a wave of comments hitting me. At some point, the dialogue hits levels that are so bad, I actually have to consider the possibility that it's ironic. It's either a case of intentionally bad, or it's another unfortunate case of hello, my fellow kids. Basically, a group of out-of-touch millennials trying to desperately relate to the scary teenagers who ride bikes outside their houses. Now, credit where credit is due, the game does have some good dialogue. This is a game where a lot of the gameplay is choosing dialogue options. The game wouldn't have been a success if they had fucked up all the writing. The scenes with the serial killer in the dark room towards the end of the game are really good and chilling. The scenes where we locate the corpse of Rachel Amber is also good, and it's added onto by the great voice acting of whoever the fuck plays Chloe. It's a good example of how good acting can elevate good writing. I think my favourite example of this concept is Charles Dance's performance as Tywin Lannister in Game of Thrones.
Enough. We'll go back to my chambers and speak with some dignity.
I can't go back there. She's in there.
Are you afraid of a dead horse?
My personal favourite scene is when Chloe dies. All of them. There's no good lines of dialogue, I just really enjoy those scenes. In episode 4, Max ends up in an alternate universe where Chloe is now wheelchair bound. To make a long story short, Chloe begs us to kill her by overdosing her on morphine. If you grant her request, the scene that plays is great. Not because she dies, but because it's probably the most emotional scene in the game for me. It didn't make me tear up, but it made me feel uncomfortable, but in a good way. Like how I make women around me feel uncomfortable, but in a good way.
Goodbye to my Santa Monica dream.
BoJack Horseman is an animated Netflix series that ran between 2014 and 2020. It follows BoJack Horseman, a horseman who is struggling to accept that his acting career, which peaked with him starring in a 90s sitcom called Horsing Around, is over. On the surface, BoJack Horseman seems like an adult comedy in the same vein as Rick and Morty. But as you get deeper into the show, the jokes become less frequent and the show shows its true colours. You go from an episode where BoJack is in controversy because he stole muffins from a Navy SEAL, who is actually a SEAL, to an episode where BoJack is being told by his own mother that he was born broken.
You're BoJack Horseman. There's no cure for that.
The same is true for Life is Strange. The game lures you in with its cool, hand-painted art style and chilled-out soundtrack, but underneath there's a sinister undercurrent to the whole game. Kind of like Dredge, an indie game I've been playing while writing the script. It's just a cool game about fishing, sounds relaxing. What the fuck is that? Have you ever had a nightmare where you're being chased by a monster and everyone around you seems oblivious to what's going on? That's the tone that... I didn't make the comparison to BoJack Horseman for no reason. Easily my favourite episode of BoJack is the second to last episode, titled The View from Halfway Down. I won't spoil what happens in the episode, it's something that you should watch with your own eyes, but the episode centres around confronting one's own death, as well as the deaths of those around you.
It's the way it is, you know. Everything must come to an end. The drip finally stops.
See you on the other side.
Oh, BoJack, no. There is no other side. This is it.
There is a lot of death in Life is Lame. The game centres around the death of Rachel Amber, a Blackwell student who disappeared after meeting with an unidentified individual. Everyone assumes that she ran away to LA, but the main characters think something more sinister happened to her. Chloe Price is the way she is because of her father dying when she was young. Chloe herself, as I said previously, dies. A lot. Out of the 5 episodes that make up the game, Chloe dies in 4 of them. The final decision of the game asks you to choose between saving Chloe or saving the town. By the way, if you choose to save Chloe, everyone in the town dies. No exceptions. All the characters you meet throughout your time here will die because of your choice. Of course, grief is a byproduct of death, and Liz has grief in bucket loads. Whether it's the school mourning the death of a girl who was bullied into suicide. By the way, I got that outcome on both my playthroughs. So I choose to believe that there is no way to save her because the alternative is that I lack any empathy. Did you know 20% of statistics are completely made up? The character of Chloe Price to me stands as a representation of grief. I'm sure all of you have heard about the 5 stages of grief, psychiatric model proposed by psychiatrist, I'm going to butcher this name, Kubler-Ross in the 1960s. Nowadays, that model is considered to be debunked, but at the time of this game's release, it was still considered a valid model. Chloe throughout the game represents the stages of grief. For the death of Rachel Amber, her father, and at the end of the game, her own, it makes sense. My interpretation of the story makes sense because I said so. But seriously, the game begins with Chloe being shot, and if you're like me, ends with her dying from that exact same gunshot. It's kind of like The View from Halfway Down again. The events of the game are basically a real-life death dream for Chloe.
Hey guys, welcome back to my Life is Strange playthrough. Today I'm going to be shooting this fucker's dog. Another preschool saved.
When I first played this game, I would have been around 14 to 15 years old, and I would have been in my second to last year of high school. In short, I was a smooth-brained gooner who didn't know what he wanted to do with his life. And because of that, a lot of the dialogue in the game flew over my head as just useless filler. But now, I'm a pseudo-intellectual 23-year-old, and my brain has developed its first few wrinkles. This most recent playthrough felt like I was playing a completely different game. The theme that stuck out more on this playthrough was the theme of nostalgia. Nostalgia is defined as placing sentimental value in the past. In short, finding comfort within it, often by reminiscing about a simpler time in life with less pressure and responsibility. If you play video games, you'll know that the industry in recent years has used nostalgia to great effect. More frequently than ever before, remakes and remasters make up a sizable portion of new AAA game releases. Silent Hill 2, Luigi's Mansion 2, Dead Rising, Persona 3, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Those are all major / medium releases that came out this year. And that's not even every game that got remade or remastered this year. So remakes and remasters are obviously popular. Fun little fact, the version of Life is Strange that I've been playing for this video was actually the remastered version. The point I'm trying to make is that we are all susceptible to nostalgia. If you say you're not, then you just lied to me, and I thought we had something special. But what has all this got to do with Life is Strange? Well, a major theme of this game is the idea of growing up and being unsure about one's future. Max herself makes constant references to the past and to her childhood. There are moments in the game where you can just sit and observe the scenery. During these moments, Max will often reflect on what's happened in the episode so far, but it's not uncommon for her to think about her childhood and to find comfort in that.
Although this junkyard is a dive, I see why Chloe hangs here. She's a steampunk. It actually feels like Chloe and I are kids again. We're hiding out and plotting our future. Despite all the chaos and bullshit, I feel so giddy hanging out with her again. So happy. Like we've both gone back in time.
Max is obviously worried about her future. She refuses to take part in her school's photography competition because she's scared that her work is not good enough. Even though this competition could kickstart her career, she tears up the photo that she planned to submit at the beginning of the game. And the irony is that we know she would win, as in an alternate universe we see what happens had she submitted that photo. This aspect of Max actually draws an interesting opposition to Chloe, and it's kind of tragic. Max has the potential to have a good career, but she's too scared to take those first steps. Meanwhile, Chloe has no future, as she's destined to die, yet she knows what she wants. She has a plan. I didn't really have a good segue for this section, so I'm just going to roll with it. We can't talk about the transition to adulthood without talking about the game's main antagonist, Mark Jefferson. As I mentioned earlier, there is a serial killer stalking Arcadia Bay. Mark Jefferson is obsessed with the corruption of youth. Jefferson is Max's photography teacher. He can no longer satisfy his twisted desires with deviant art commissions, so now he's resorted to drugging girls at parties and bringing them to his dark room to take pictures of them. His goal is to perfectly capture the moment where purity is tainted. Life is Strange uses colours to convey emotion or story elements. Jefferson is one of two characters who is associated with the colour black, the colour associated with death. The other character, of course, being Chloe, who we know cheats death at the start of the game. Just like with Chloe, Max actually represents an opposite aspect of Jefferson. Max is an observer. Max wants to capture life as it is. She doesn't need to alter things because she can see the beauty in life in its natural state. Jefferson, on the other hand, takes his subjects and purposefully ruins them to make them beautiful in his eyes. And that brings an end to this video. I've had to record this outro several times now because I'm just not satisfied with it. I'm doing it completely unscripted, so I'm going to keep it short and sweet so I don't go off on a ramble. Next video will be on Life is Strange Before the Storm. Other than that, I hope you guys have had a good year. I hope you guys have a good new year and that 2025 is good for everyone, for all of us, especially me. Like I said, I don't want to go off on a ramble, so I am just going to cut things here. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, like and subscribe so that I know that people like it. I will continue making more if I know people like it. And I'll see you guys in the next video.